Give your sister your penthouse as a wedding gift, my father announced into the mic, his voice booming under the chandeliers. 200 guests froze mid-toast. My mother's smile didn't flicker. Charlotte blinked, pretending surprise. I stood there holding my glass, oil of 1,000 deals still under my nails, every eye burning into me. The music stopped. Someone whispered my name, then a man I'd never seen before rose from the crowd. Calm, but sharp, he said. Touch her assets again, and you'll lose yours. The hall went quiet. My father's jaw locked. Before I get into what happened next, tell me where you're listening from so I know I'm not alone. I used to think silence kept the peace. If I smiled at the right moments, nodded at the right times, and never let my voice shake, my family would finally see me as one of their own. But peace built on silence cracks fast, especially in a house like ours that my parents loved appearances. My mother, Carol, believed perfection could be arranged like centerpieces, carefully trimmed, polished, and shown off to the world. My father, Richard, lived for applause. Charlotte was their masterpiece, the one who could do no wrong. And me, I was the line item they couldn't brag about, but couldn't afford to lose. When people asked about my job, my mother would laugh lightly and say, "Isabella works somewhere in finance." She never mentioned I was vice president of Asia Pacific Development, that my signature could move millions. To her, success only counted if it came with a husband attached. Charlotte, meanwhile, didn't need to earn her shine. She was soft-spoken, radiant, the perfect daughter. In front of guests, she'd call me her big sister, like it was a costume piece. I played along for years. I funded the little things that kept our image intact. I paid off a mortgage when my father's deal went sideways. I wired money to Mom for emergencies. I even transferred $50,000 to help cover Charlotte's wedding. They never asked twice. They just took it as if it were my duty. The week before the wedding, my father pulled me aside. "You'll sit at the front," he said. "Your family, of course. Just remember, it's Charlotte's day. Keep things simple." Simple? I laughed later, alone in my car. He had no idea what simple meant. Dot at the rehearsal dinner. The lights glowed soft gold over white roses. Everything was arranged for photographs. My mother fussed over Charlotte's veil. My father shook hands with investors more than relatives. I stood by the bar, unnoticed. Then Charlotte, all sugar-sweet smile, said loud enough for a few tables to hear, "Isa, thank you again for helping with the expenses." I felt the sting in the word helping. My father nodded approvingly. Public gratitude that sounded generous but made me small. I told myself it didn't matter. I'd show up, sit quietly, play my part. One more night. One more performance. I didn't know that behind their polished smiles, my family had already cast me as the opening act, the sacrifice to make their perfect day complete. The morning of the wedding shimmered, with that kind of sunlight that makes everything look innocent. Under the flowers and champagne chillers, though, something pulsed wrong. My gut knew before my mind did. I arrived at the hotel ballroom early. The scent of white lily was heavy. Staff moved like bees, draping fabric, polishing glasses. My mother's voice cut through, sharp and commanding. "Make sure Charlotte's bouquet faces the left side. Her profile photographs better." It wasn't a request. It never was. I was walking past the reception table when I noticed him. A man standing perfectly still, watching. He wore a charcoal suit and a tie flecked with silver. His posture was calm, deliberate. He didn't look like any of the guests. When his eyes met mine, I froze. He gave a polite nod, then said quietly, "Be careful." What they announced today. His tone was so even, it almost sounded kind. Then he turned and disappeared into the bustle, leaving a chill on my skin. A text buzzed on my phone from an unknown number. "They'll take what's yours tonight." Don't lose it. The words landed like a punch. I looked at the crowd, my father laughing with investors, my mother adjusting Charlotte's train. No one paid attention. I stepped into the corridor, heart racing, and listened. Through the half-open door, I heard my parents' voices, low and measured. During the toast, we'll make the announcement, my father said. It'll make Charlotte's gift unforgettable. My mother chuckled. And Isabella won't dare refuse. Too many cameras. Too many witnesses. Pride can be useful, she added. Charlotte's voice followed, hesitant. Are you sure she'd be okay with it? My mother's reply was syrup over poison. She doesn't need that space. She has her work. You deserve a home. My face drained of color. They weren't proud. They were planning to take what I built and parade it as a gesture of sisterly love. I pressed my back to the cold wall. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the one who would react. I was the one who would remember. I walked back to my suite without a word. The hallway smelled like roses and expense. Inside, the air felt expectant, like the pause before a storm. I pulled out the folder I kept locked away. Documents, statements, ownership proofs. Every number, every signature. 10 years of work compressed into ink. They didn't build that home. They never stayed up through time zones or chased contracts that nearly broke me. They only knew how to spend what they never earned. I forwarded the documents to my lawyer with one line, be ready. 8 p.m. ballroom, no explanation. No motion. Then I changed into a deep navy dress, clean, structured, uncheckable. I wasn't blending in anymore. I clipped on diamond earrings I'd once bought to celebrate a deal. That night, they served a different purpose, a reminder of who I was, before they tried to take it away. Downstairs, the ballroom filled. Glasses clicked. Conversation hummed. Soft strings played in the background. It was polished to the point of nausea. I moved through the crowd unnoticed, heels tapping on tile. Fragments of gossip floated past. Charlotte's wedding is perfect. Such a classy family. Isabella looks tense. They had no idea what was coming. Charlotte glided by, glowing under the lights. I'm so glad you came, she said, hand brushing my arm like we were equals. I almost smiled. Almost, I answered Dot, then my father clapped for attention. Everyone, please take your seats for the toast. The room quieted. He adjusted the mic, pride visible in every inch of him. My mother stood beside him, glowing with satisfaction. I sat at a corner table with a clear view of the stage, glass of wine in hand. I already knew what he planned to say, but still, a sliver of hope lingered. Maybe I'd misread it all. He tapped his glass. A family's strength, he began, is measured not by what we keep, but by what we share. My grip tightened on the stem. Tonight, he said, sweeping his eyes across the room, we have something extraordinary to celebrate. My eldest daughter, Isabella, has decided to give her sister, he paused for effect, her penthouse as a wedding gift. The words landed like a grenade. Applause broke out before I could breathe. Cameras flashed. Someone shouted, "That's incredible." The moment was manufactured to make me look generous, obedient, harmless. I didn't stand. I didn't speak. For 3 endless seconds, I could not move. The air thickened. The smell of champagne turned sour. My father nodded at me. Isabella, he said, come join us up here. Say a few words. 100 heads turned. Heat crawled up my neck. The world waited for my smile. I lifted the glass to mask the faintest smile. If they wanted a performance, they were about to get one, just not the version they rehearsed. A chair scraped against marble. At the far end of the room, a man stood. The same man from that morning, the silver-flecked tie. His voice was calm and carried through every corner of the glittering hall. Touch your assets again, he said, and you'll lose yours. Silence fell so hard it felt physical. My father's face went pale. My mother blinked, unsure whether to be angry or afraid. Charlotte clutched her bouquet. The man walked forward, each step echoing like a gavel strike. He pulled a sleek card from his jacket. "William Carter," he said. "CEO of Carter Financial?" A murmur spread through the room. Recognition dawned on a few faces. "We've been working with your daughter for 3 years now," he continued. "The penthouse you're attempting to claim in this announcement is part of her legal compensation package. It's protected by anti-coercion clauses under her executive contract." I heard my mother's breath catch. She reached for my father's arm, whispering something frantic. William's voice never wavered. "What happened here tonight," he said, "is a public attempt at asset seizure. And it's being live-streamed to over 10,000 viewers right now." Heads turned to a cousin who'd propped his phone on a table. The red recording light glowed like accusation. My father tried to laugh. "It's a misunderstanding. A family joke." William's expression hardened. "A joke that included coercion and public humiliation," he said, "isn't a joke. It's exploitation dressed up as family love." The room shifted. Some guests rose. Others stared at me with new eyes, curiosity mixed with shame. My father's business partner, Mr. Patterson, stood face white. "Richard," he said sharply, "I invested in your company because I believed in your ethics. After this, Patterson Industries is suspending all collaboration, effective immediately." Others followed. Names and firms withdrew. Consequences moved faster than apologies. My father gripped the mic stand like a lifeline. Charlotte sobbed quietly, confused. "Dad, make it stop," she whispered, but it was too late. The house of cards had collapsed. I stood slowly. Noise around me dissolved into a low hum. "You wanted a spectacle?" I said, voice steady. "You got one." My mother hissed, "Isabella, please." "You're humiliating us." I stepped closer. "No, Mother. You did that yourself." William handed my mother the microphone. "Perhaps Mrs. Hayes would like to explain her behavior for the record," he said evenly. She shook her head, trembling. "You can't do this," she whispered. "I already did," she added, as if the confession and the performance were the same thing. Phones recorded every second. My father's attempts at damage control sounded brittle. The crowd's murmurs changed from admiration to judgment. People were choosing sides without being asked. William put a gentle hand on my shoulder and guided me toward the exit. Behind us, my mother's sobs rose. My father shouted something I didn't care to hear. Charlotte's wedding day had become a live broadcast of consequence. As the ballroom doors shut, a glass shattered somewhere behind us. The sound hung in the air like the last note of a song. Outside, night air hit my skin like truth. I looked up at the skyline and saw my penthouse glinting in the distance. For the first time, its walls felt like armor, not a cage. William asked, softly, "Are you all right?" I exhaled. "I am now," I said. He nodded. "You handled that better than most would." He offered his card again. "When you're ready," he said, "I'd like to discuss something bigger." I didn't need to be asked. I already knew this wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of theirs. By morning, 1 minute of footage had gone viral. Headlines called it the wedding scandal that shattered a family. My inbox filled with messages from strangers thanking me for standing up. Women wrote about being told to keep peace at their own expense. My parents' fallout was swift. Major partners withdrew. The company's stock plunged. My father posted an apology video that looked like damage control. My mother claimed manipulation online and was drowned out by thousands of comments. Charlotte's perfect marriage unraveled. Her in-laws pulled back, unwilling to attach their name to the wreckage. I stayed silent. I didn't need to defend myself. The truth had already done that. When William called to offer me a seat on Carter Financial's board, I said yes. Not for a revenge, but for direction. For the first time, I wasn't surviving my family. I was rebuilding myself. Weeks later, I stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows of my penthouse. City lights flickered like quiet applause. The same glass walls they tried to take now reflected everything I'd earned: freedom, clarity, peace. On the shelf was a framed photo of my grandmother. Her handwritten note beneath it read, "Don't let them take your light." I smiled. They hadn't. They never would. If you've ever had to stand alone at a table full of people who called it family, know this: you're not alone. Share your story below and hit subscribe. The next story might be yours.